beloveds? I greet you in the name of love, and I bring you greetings from my spiritual community, the Downey Center for Spiritual Living, where I get to be the spiritual director there. And I say I get to because out of all the things that I could be doing, they chose me and I chose them. And it is that reciprocal nature of life, that choosing of one another, that I think is absolutely important and absolutely valuable. I am gifted and honored to be here with you today to bring a simple message as we look at the Global Heart Awakens. As we look at our lives, I'm recalling when I was living in Botswana. Now, I was only there for 2 weeks, but I was alive when I was there.
Counts. It counts. Totally counts.
Just want to be transparent. When I was living in Botswana, one of the roads most highly traveled had a huge tree that had fallen upon it. And what did the people of Botswana do? They created a new way to travel. I bring that story up because I was surprised at my Western thinking, at my way of thinking and being in the world, because immediately I thought, get this sucker out of the way. Where are the saws, the chainsaws, the people? Let's bring the donkeys and the elephants and whatever. Let's bring them here and let's move this out of the way. Because my consciousness at the time was, we must keep status quo. We got to keep this road. And yet the consciousness and the awareness of the people in the bush where we were all living was, we just create a new way of travel. And so my lesson, just in that simple experience, was really an awakening within my heart and my consciousness to really see how stuck I was in wanting to keep things status quo. You see, when we keep things status quo, I get to be in a position of power or not be in a position of power. I get to exude my love or not exude my love. When we keep things status quo, it stays the same and it's stagnant. Life is not about being stagnant. Life is forever expressing and forever evolving. And if we are indeed to participate in co-creating, then we have an opportunity, an assignment, if you will, should we choose to accept the assignment, of uncovering those areas within our own lives that are stagnant, that are stuck. Now, what a great community we have here. A community where I'm sure some of us have come, at least when I first came to this teaching and this philosophy and this way of being. I was totally attracted to, attracting that parking place, that princess, that palace. I wanted it. And I wanted it for me. I had no clue that at some point, what I wanted for me would actually grow and evolve to what I want for the world. You see, a lot of times when people talk about our philosophy and our movement, they talk about it as if it's a selfish and self-centered philosophy, because it's all about manifestation. It's all about manifesting and getting mine. And we get to start somewhere. I remember learning how to count 1, 2, 3, 4. But then when I was in school, I began to learn that 1 + 1 = 2. And then I began to learn subtraction and multiplication and division and calculus and algebra. You see, we cannot get stuck in just manifesting for self. We must graduate. We must continue to do our personal work so that we begin to have a vision of where we are going as a humanity. And I believe that that is happening, and I'm not the only one who believes this way. And yet, what we're noticing in our society, what we notice in our homes, what we notice in our neighborhoods is sometimes this imbalance of power, an imbalance of love, or that there's not enough. And so we have these social justice movements, and we have these ways of being that kind of keep status quo. And there are many of us now who are just saying, enough is enough. I am evolving to that place where power is the ability to make change and to do so from a loving heart. You see, I don't believe that power and love are polar opposites either. I believe that we have power because we love, and that we love because we have the power and the ability to do so. But it is written that a people without a vision perish. And it is incumbent upon each of us to begin to embrace and step forth into a global vision, into the global heart. To begin to see this world that works for everyone and recognize that everyone includes us. So I no longer have to be just thinking about what I'm going to manifest for myself, but where I can use my love of humanity and my power to create this world together with others just like you as we continue to awaken. Now, what I know is that for many of us, not all of us, for me, I don't like watching the news. My mentor, Dr. Michael Beckwith, says, you know, the news is a prayer request. So when he catches the news, he knows he's about to go into prayer. And I get that. Right? So if you watch the news, it's a prayer request, beloveds. For me, I don't entertain. I don't entertain it. I catch it every now and then. For me, I get into this place where when I hear or see the news, sometimes it throws me off a little bit. And it dives me deeper into my work, dives me deeper into my knowing. I know that some of us, when we're in the news, when we're in what's happening, that it creates some discord, that it creates some difference. But there is indeed a solution. There is a solution for that discord and that difference. And I'm going to make you wait for it. Because Dr. David's going to tell you about it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Reverend Sunshine. Good morning, SLCA. It's good to be back with you all. Let's talk about this discord a little bit. Let's talk about the vibration of initiation. How many people know that you are being initiated right now? You're being, three of you. Okay, good. And they're mostly over here. So let me talk to y'all. You're being initiated right now. You're being initiated into a new humanity, into creating that world that works for everyone. Now, initiation, since most of you aren't aware, did anybody go through any kind of initiation when you were younger? Rites of passage, And when we talk really about what it means to be initiated from the deepest spiritual place, from the ancient rituals of humanity on this globe, the practice is deep and sacred. And we have, in America, in the Western culture, have replaced it with a lot of pseudo-initiations that are playful and fun and in their own ways significant, but they don't really touch what we're talking about here. And because they don't really touch what we're talking about here, there remains a call for the deeper initiation, which is why we are where we are. Okay, so getting your first apartment wasn't it. Getting your first car wasn't it. Now those are pseudo initiations that happen in our culture. Those are rites of passage. I got my own apartment, I got my own car, graduated from high school, got a degree, college degree, whatever it is. But those are insignificant in terms of the bigger call that is calling humanity forward. And when you have another word for initiation is in college they call it pledging. Anybody pledge? Oh, don't people like? Oh, no. I see you. I know you're a party animal. We see you. I know you're breaking it down. Now, I won't tell you all of my stories because I don't have time for that. But I'll tell you one from high school. I joined the cross-country team, track and cross-country team in my freshman year, and I had joined late because the PE teacher saw me, and then he was also the track coach, and he saw me, and so he followed me one day, and he said, "You, come here." And I didn't have time for that. I don't want to do that, but I said, okay, and I did it, and I was really grateful that I did it. And so I joined late, so I missed the pledging that had taken place with the track team. And so one day, none of this is in my notes, by the way.
No. I saw his notes.
Jesus, okay. Anyway, they wrapped me to a tree with cellophane wrap. Hit all the toes all the way up to here, and then went inside and ate dinner. And left me out there for a good long while before I got free. But I did get free. But that is still a pseudo-initiation. Our initiations can be painful. There's a cry that's happening in humanity right now. There's a call that is occurring. And it comes with some level of discord. If you pay attention to the news, if you hear the conversations that are happening, if you simply tune in, you don't have to watch the news to tune in to the vibration of what's happening in your soul. You can feel it. You can feel the discord. You can feel, and the discord is there because of two things that I like to always talk about when I speak, and that is, one, that our fundamental nature is wholeness. Our fundamental wholeness is your nature. It is the nature of the vibration of the universe itself. Everything is built in and birthed out of a vibration of wholeness. That means in this spiritual philosophy, we get to reclaim any part of ourselves that doesn't feel whole. We get to reclaim our prosperity. We get to reclaim our health. We get to reclaim the beauty of our body, of our expression of life. We are a reclamation of wholeness kind of theology, a liberation theology in that sense. Wholeness is our nature. But you're not meant to stay stagnant. Just because you claim your wholeness doesn't mean life doesn't change. I've been married. I've been divorced. Married again. It's my third, not my third marriage, but before I was married the first time. I was engaged 2 weeks before the wedding. Called it off. So just because you claim your wholeness doesn't mean life doesn't happen to you. Wholeness is your nature. Evolution is your design. You are designed, every single cell in your body and everything around you is designed to evolve. So wholeness is your nature, but evolution is your design. And humanity is being called forward to evolve into a new way of being because the old way isn't working anymore. And so we have these birthing pains, this what I would call a divine discontent that is taking place, or a friction. But because there's an integrity of your being that wants to come forward, that integrity creates the divine discontent. Am I making sense? Yes. The wholeness of who you are wants to come forward, but because you're out of alignment or have adopted thinking and practices and ways of being that don't honor your wholeness, that don't honor the fullness of who you are, both you as an individual, but also we collectively as humanity, just because we've suppressed it doesn't mean that it doesn't want to come forward. Try sitting on a beach ball in the pool. You can do it for a while, but it doesn't mean that beach ball doesn't want to come up, and it eventually will. So there's a wholeness within you and a wholeness within humanity that wants to come forward, and just because we have not been in integrity with that process doesn't mean that it has gone away. It still wants to come forward, and so it's bursting out all over the place. There's a divine discontent, and this divine discontent, the messiness of that is necessary. Turn to somebody and say, it's necessary.
It's necessary.
It's necessary.
It's necessary.
We want to think that it's all, we could just do some affirmations and just meditate on the beach and it'll all go away. But there's a murky process that is absolutely necessary for the evolution of our soul and our being. It's how we got here. You may not remember it, but you came through a dark place. And it was a little tricky at times. And it may have taken a little longer than anybody anticipated. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. You don't remember it because we have amnesia. Even the mother's body gets filled with hormones that such that it forgets it. It erases the memory. It's like that pen on Men in Black. It just, psh, and 2 years later, I know because my son's 18 months ago. Oh, let's do it again. Oh no, we ain't doing it again. One and done, honey. Just, I'm going to be clear about that. She didn't forget. I'm just saying, some people. But there's a divine discontent. We forget that the butterfly is in an epic struggle to come forward. And that the cells of the butterfly have to literally eat and feed on the old cells of the caterpillar. That's messy, y'all. That's messy, right? It's not like, oh, look at the pretty butterfly emerging. No, it's in a deep struggle of survival where the old cells are being feasted on in order for the new to come forward. We forget that the rosebud is under tremendous pressure before it blooms. We forget that the seed has to be broken in order for the most vulnerable part of it to come out. And when it comes out into a dark, murky, wet, mysterious place, and it has to search and reach and struggle to find its way through rocks and clay and all manner of unknown things to it before in order to break through and find the light. It's an interesting process. All of these things are necessary, and you and I are here. The one last one, the baby chick has to get so discontent with its environment because it's been sleeping and eating and peeing and pooping. Can I say pooping? In that space, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and the space keeps getting smaller and smaller. It has to become so discontent with that environment that it's willing to peck its way out into something that it has no idea what's on the other side. Are you getting what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So there's a cry that's happening that's ringing in our ears. It's a cry of the children being separated from their parents. It's the cry of innocent black men being shot in the back in their grandmother's backyard. It's the cry of women who have struggled for too long to have anyone believe that their stories are true. It's the cry of our national heartache from a growing divide of political discourse and positioning. And it would be foolish and unwise for us to respond to that cry with a spiritual platitude that we must simply get still and meditate, rise above it, and try not to be disturbed by the vibration. To just think happy thoughts. It would be foolish and unwise because it would be disingenuous to the process that brought us here. It would be disingenuous to the necessity of that discontent in order to birth something new. Now, don't get me wrong, a spiritual deep practice of knowing how to rise above and have a deep rudder and allow the vibrations and currents of everyday affairs go by while you have a deep rooted practice in stillness and in wholeness while everything else is going on around you, that is necessary. And you come here to build that spiritual muscle, to take classes and to learn and to deepen that. You need that. It's necessary.
Yes.
It's necessary. But it's only one tool that you use in the totality of everything else. It's a tool of mindfulness. It's not a tool of amnesia. It's not a lobotomy. So you didn't come here to get a new thought lobotomy. You came here to deepen the roots of who you are so that you could withstand the winds of the outside world. Am I making sense? All right. So there's a cry and initiation. Now, in the book that we're studying this month, the stages of initiation that the author gives are the separation from the unknown and the familiar, loss of a sense of safety, followed by isolation and containment. When I read about the isolation and containment, I thought about the political divide and discourse and how we are retreating. I used to be able to have deep, meaningful dialogues and sometimes discontent, agitated, filled dialogues with people who didn't think like me on social media. But I can't do it anymore. Not because I don't want to be, I want to engage in dialogue with people who don't think like me. But they all left my page. Either they unfriended me or I unfriended them, and they don't see my posts and I don't see their posts. We don't talk because we've decided, no, we're more isolated and remaining in our own bubble. That's the second stage, isolation and containment, until finally there's a push and a surrender. And in that surrender, we plunge. Unfortunately, beloveds, in the surrender, we plunge into the darkness. And the darkness gets louder and louder and louder until we begin to develop new eyes. And until, through that seeing, through new eyes, there's a rebirth. And there's a new way of seeing. And in that dark place, we have to develop the capacity. In the book, it says the zygote needs the information encoded within the DNA. The builder needs a blueprint. Mm-hmm. We need a vision going forward while we remain in the midst of the darkness. We're in many ways, a dark time socially. But there is hope. Because there are cells, what are called in the caterpillar, imaginal cells within us that are coming forward that have encoded in themselves the DNA of what the new world is. You see it, you know it, and there's something within you that can't deny it. And we come here to be reminded of it, to be lifted up in it, and to allow those new cells to come forward and for us to develop new eyes and new ways of seeing. And so I want to invite my beloved back forward as we talk about what are those new ways of seeing together.
Yeah. Because the truth is that there is no Savior coming. Mm-hmm. That it's not the one person, but that the Savior is indeed the collective consciousness, and that we are a part of that. Does that make sense? Does that? And so I've heard the term we are as strong as our weakest link. And so together, we get to go through these stages, these initiation stages, while we are deep, deep in our practice. And we must have the vision, this world that works for everyone. And sometimes for me, it's just jargon. Mm. What does that really mean? What is a world that works for everyone? And unless we're in dialogue, unless we're talking and communicating and being in community together, I don't really know what a world that works for everyone looks like for you, or for any of us. Sometimes it can just be words. So we get to graduate, like learning how to count. We get to go through those stages now. Where are we going? What stages of initiation are we in? Am I in personally? Are we in as a community, as a movement, as a people? And what is our vision? Are we actually talking about our vision? I believe that that's the true definition for television. Instead of watching television, we need to get together and tell a vision.
Go ahead.
And tell a vision to one another.
Yes,
and speak
good.
About our vision.
Good.
And begin taking the steps to create it, so it's not just talk, but that it is indeed our way of being, that we're consciously creating a way of being. We don't have to wait for disaster to show up. Mm-hmm. We can just begin to tell a vision.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And we do that by really understanding ourselves, understanding our values, understanding what it is that we really stand for. And I believe that when we get past all of the positioning and ideologies and ways of identifying ourselves that are comfortable and familiar, when all of that begins to shed and fall away, we get to a bedrock place of commonality, of our common humanity, and that that it's even beyond humanity, common creation, that all living things have a survival instinct, that all living things have a desire to procreate, or to reproduce after their own kind, and that they want their procreation, their offspring, to survive and to thrive. And that becomes the beginning place of telling our story and telling our vision, that I am you and you are me, and we have different expressions that are wonderful and beautiful and unique, and yet there's something common, deeply rooted in who we are as human beings, that what I want for my children is not separate or distinct or isolated from what she wants for her children or her beloveds, the people that are close to her, or anybody else. And so we begin to see through those eyes. We begin to articulate a new way of being in humanity. How do we do that together? Given that God is all that there is, given that God is all that there is, and you think differently than me, and I think differently than you, and you're over here, and we're over there, and we have different languages and different whatevers, given all of that, and given that there is this common thread that runs through us that says we all want the same thing: food, clothing, clean water, education for our children, a safe place. Love, a sense of belonging.
Yes.
A sense of seeing, being seen.
I see you.
I see you. So there's a beautiful poem that was shared with me recently, and we want to share it together. And we're going to do it as a dyad together. I'm going to invite you to just take a breath and take it in, and then we're going to flip the switch or the script and do it a second time, so you get to really hear it and take it in.
Breathe, said the wind.
How can I breathe at a time like this when the air is full of smoke, of burning tires and burning lives?
Just breathe, the wind insisted.
Easy for you to say if the weight of injustice is not wrapped around your throat, cutting off all air.
I need you to breathe. I need you to breathe.
Don't tell me to be calm when there are so many reasons to be angry, so much cause for despair.
I didn't say to be calm, said the wind. I said to breathe. We're going to need a lot of air to make this hurricane together.
Take a breath. Breathe, said the wind.
How can I breathe at a time like this, when the air is full of smoke and the burning tires and burning lives?
Just breathe, the wind insisted.
It's easy for you to say if the weight of injustice is not wrapped around your throat, cutting off all the air.
Just breathe. I need you to breathe. I need you to breathe.
Don't tell me to be calm. Huh. When there's so many reasons to be angry and so much cause and call for despair.
I didn't say to be calm, said the wind. I said to breathe. We're going to need a lot of air to make this hurricane together.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Hi, I'm David Alt, and I simply want to say thanks. Thanks for taking the time to watch our broadcast here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We have a vision, and that vision is to reawaken all to their spiritual magnificence. And one of the ways that we are able to do that is through this very medium of broadcasting. So if you got anything out of this, if you felt in any way inspired, or if something spoke to you directly, then I extend an invitation to you to become a part of our family by donating. And there are many ways in order for you to be able to do that. One is to simply go to our website at slca.com, And there you will find all different kinds of prompts that will help you support what it is that we are doing here in Atlanta. One way is to become a pledger. That means that you decide on a monthly basis that you are going to help us with this vision. Another way is to donate through our management system called Fellowship One, another through PayPal, and another even easier way is on your cell phone. You can do what's called text to tithe, and that number is 404-796-7030. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I invite you to come back weekly to see what it is that we're up to. Blessings.